So I always feel that an old vehicle has feelings. Actually, most vehicles have feelings. And this particular Land Cruiser that we were restoring definitely felt like it did not want to be restored. A little bit history on why we do so many 80 series, or why do we try to gear ourselves or recommend people to go for this vehicle compared to the other Land Cruisers. So a lot of our clientele, they want to use the vehicle for overlanding or camping, something of, like I always said, a retirement rig. The 80 series is a very good platform to start with, because I feel that the bottom end, it's sort of bulletproof. Of course, the Nissan Patrol owners are going to say otherwise, but in the Toyota Land Cruiser family, the 80 series is the last of the rigid axle family. So, and still having comfort. That's hence why we do so many 80 series and we enjoy doing them. This particular 80 series started life in Telok or Ipoh, can't remember. But when before the owner bought it, he did call and ask if he's making the right choice. And I always tell people, look, the car is the cheaper you get the car, be prepared to put more time and money into it, unless you get a unicorn where someone looked after it really well and just want to let it go cheap. But if not, you would have to put in a lot of time and money. This particular car, when it was videoed to me, and I could see in the engine bay, like almost every vacuum hose was disconnected. So someone had been in it, and I think all they tried to do was just to be able to get it started. There was fluid coming down from everywhere. I think there was gearbox fluid on the floor in the place that they were looking at the vehicle. So the owner said, you know what, it's just going to tow it back to me. And when the car arrived USJ 4x4 in Subang Jaya, it overall, it looked decent. Like, it was relatively a stock vehicle. And that's also what I try to tell people: if you're planning to build a car that suits you, unless the mods have been done properly, or it was done by a shop obviously that had some amount of credentials and they were willing to do it correctly, then yeah. But if not, you would like to start from something a lot more basic. And this 80 series was relatively basic, but when it was on a tow truck and I dipped under, all I could see was just wet with oil. And then what we did was we brought it in, inspected everything, put in fluids into it, and as we put in more ATF fluid, it literally just was draining at the bottom. So by putting enough that I could get one test run, and it drove. So that's a Toyota, it still drove, so you still could drive it around the block, and that was okay. But I really like this car. One thing for is its number matching. So what I mean by number matching, the body, the engine, the gearbox, everything matches up to the plate and to the chassis number that what the vehicle came with. So it had 900 over 1,000 kilometers on the odo, and even the odo is for that vehicle. So all in all, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. It was a lot of work, but we didn't know until we started taking it apart. So when we took it apart, because it's going to do a full rebuild, and this owner wanted to do full on straight away to stage 4. That means everything done before he takes the car, mainly because he just didn't want to go back and forward from the shop. He just wanted to get it done all together, and with so much of critical components being an issue, he wanted to get it done all together. The engine, so going back to the engine, as we took it out, it had a crack timing cover. And the only way you crack the timing cover in that position is if the engine was taken out before and it was dropped. And then that threw us to one issue: these parts have been discontinued. Even new old stock, almost impossible to get. Saying that you want to buy something from used or from a half cut, again, would be they would want you to buy the whole engine. And the 24 valve 1HD FT basically fetches a really high value in Malaysia. Like, if it's basically 30,000 ringgit for an engine on the floor, and that's the pricing of the 1HDFT in Malaysia. What we did was we had to send it out to be machined. There was just no way of getting the part. For the 100 series, the last I checked, it's still available. Although you would never need to replace this part unless it was damaged in such where, like in our case, this engine had been dropped on the floor before. We did our typical thing, dry ice blast everything. I think it had, we put in new pistons. This one had to go in new pistons as well, if I'm not mistaken. New pistons, rings, the whole shebang. And when we do a rebuild, we really go all out, and especially for a car that is expected to clock another 900,000 kilometers. The owner initially wanted a very simple build, so he didn't want it to be tall, or even he didn't want to have the ratio change or big tires or whatnot. But things escalated into there mainly because when we checked the ring and pinion, so the original ring and pinion was really damaged just by sheer mileage, I would assume, and obviously very poor maintenance. The diff was filled with water, so a lot of bearing damages and things like that. He had no choice, but it would make more sense. Even the spider gears were damaged, so it would make more sense to put in lockers and a new set of ring and pinions from Asli than to actually try to get back original components for this vehicle. So the cheaper route would actually put in lockers and the ring and pinions from Asli, and we went with 4.56 because eventually I told the owner, like, look, 35, how we lift the car about, it's on pedal suspension, so we lift it. On paper it's a 4-inch lift, but you get an effective lift of 3.5 inch, and it just clears 35 very nicely, and even on flex it doesn't rub and whatnot. We bump stop it to not rub. Again, from the front end, let's say we start from the front end, the owner did not want a bull bar. In fact, he wanted the original bar, but he wanted lighting still. He wanted good lighting on the vehicle, and we tried our best. Well, one thing nice is the original bumper of the 80 series is metal, so we could modify it and make it have, and when we mount the lights, they actually don't vibrate, the PR lights don't vibrate. So we put on the dual beam forks, sort of acting as forks integrated into the bumper, 9-inch LX590 if I'm not mistaken, the new driving lights from PR. So front end, that's how it was, kept simple, but keep in mind the spring rates were still for something with a bit more weight, and eventually the owner can have a winch in front, because a lot of, if you guys remember, a lot of stock 80 series, they have original 12 volt electric winch, so we can put something in like that in the front as well and be behind the bumper. That's something for the future. And side step as well, maintained back original. It didn't come with any of the mud flaps, or they were damaged, so we got them as well. The rear bumper is also still original. The tire carrier, we put it on 35, so it's on 17-inch rim and 35-inch tires. The rims are from Dirty Life. I'm a big fan of Dirty Life. Just simple. I run the bead locks on my cars, but these vehicles were just on the regular Dirty Life rim. What else? Also long shaft as well, redone. Suspension, I did mention, it was on pedals. We had all the bushings also on pedals. We either mix between pedals and Super Pro depending what is in stock at the time, and that's normally how we go. We are a big fan of poly bushes. People say otherwise, but honestly, we have not had any issues with them. We have cars fitted like 10 years, no dramas whatsoever. I run them on my own vehicles and I push my vehicles hard, also no issues. What else? The biggest problem why I said that I felt the car did not want to be rebuilt, we faced a massive issue regarding gearbox. So the gearbox was so bad that someone had been into it, and there was no sockets connected to the gearbox. Keep in mind this is the A442F, so you required TCU to run the gearbox, the solenoids, and there was nothing connected, no wire harness as well when the car came. So basically it was not shifting right, and we did do back the harness. And another problem with this car is if y'all go and search, one thing nice about Toyota is the manuals are available online. If you guys can't find it, do ask. I can always share. The manuals are online. The issue with it that I faced was the TCU, that basically to control the transmission for the cars that had EGR. It is hard because it's using a 3-port socket rather than just 2-port, and all the reference you can find online on how to diagnose a gearbox is all on 2-port. But what I saw figured out was, if you actually take apart the cover of the emission control and the automatic gearbox cover, you will actually notice that inside on the pins is actually labeled what they are. So S1, S2, speed sensor 1, speed sensor 2, all that is labeled inside. So from there you can do the wire tracing and whatnot if you guys need to problem solve. But this car had a problem that was just so weird. See, it was not down at one point. It was not downshifting properly and things like that. So even you normally look at the TPS, the throttle position sensor and the speed sensor. And the throttle position sensor, what Toyota gets you to check is wide open and fully closed. But in this case, it just had a minor dead spot somewhere in between. So no dramas. Replace that. But the speed sensor, we had an issue with the speed sensor number 2, specifically the one between the gearbox and the transfer case. As we were trying to get the resistance, or it's just a reluctance, you just turn the parking throttle until you get, and we couldn't get a reading. And then we thought like, okay, maybe it's a sensor, so yeah, get another brand new sensor, original sensor, try it. Still no. We were like, hey, that's weird. And guess what, someone had been into a gearbox, skimmed the parking assembly down by I think 0.98 mm. That's what the tolerance was, and that's it. We had no signal coming in. And these are problems that you could never expect facing, but this is what happens when you sometimes have cars built by places that don't know what they're doing, and the problem is obviously pushed on to the next person. Of course, someone will just say that, just why not just get a different box and switch in. Yeah, so if let's say you buy another second box, you have no idea what's wrong with that one. And in our case, I always am a big believer of building back what you have, unless it's really physically damaged a lot. In fact, in this case, it may have made more sense to start with a different box, compared with what we had to do to troubleshoot all that. It was definitely a loss on my end, but obviously I honored initial price that I did give the customer. So that was that. As for interior wise, the car it was very simple. The owner didn't want anything crazy. In fact, he didn't do the whole car. I still feel that he may have to, because this car had a tough life. It was carrying gear oil and diesel at the back, so the scent is still on the carpet, even though we gave it a good scrub, but it's still there. We did the seats, we did the side panels, steering wheel will be wrapped as well. In-car entertainment, as usual, we're running Pioneer. That's what we run for all our builds. But speakers are actually from Morel, so we also do those kind of speakers. So just for the front, owner again, he's a older gentleman, so he's not into all this. He just wants a car that is super reliable, super capable, obviously looks good as well. So to make it look good, we did put a roof rack on top, so it's running the Rhino Rack platform. It does have a 270 awning that we added as well. Lighting on top is, for now, it's just a 50-inch LED bar, but when we do our wiring and we do it completely, we do ask the customers, like we do preset for them where we have all the fuses and relays already there, in case whether or not they run it in the future, at least we have it there, so it's much easier. There's no need to pull random wires from here and there, so everything is in a proper location. And we generally get rid of the older fuse box, and everything in the engine bay is new, like even whether the 24 volt converter to start for the starter as well, all that is replaced. Overall, this car, I want to keep the video as short as possible, so overall this car was an amazing build. Like, it came out amazing, but I would not wish the problems that I had to anyone who is building a car, because it's just crazy, and sometimes it's very, I wouldn't say demeaning, it's just you feel demotivated. You put so much effort into it, and then and it happened to me as I was driving, and the gearbox just had so much issues. But it's all good. Do a couple more runs with the car, clock in a bit more mileage before I pass it back to the owner. Paint the car, we always go with something modern. We're not really the fans of having those pastel colors. Like, no offense to those who go with the classic colors or whatnot, but I like a lot more clear coat on the vehicle, so that when they do get scratched up and banged up, we have a chance to actually recover the paint. So yeah, even body work for this car, a lot had to be done. That's why, hence, like Leong with the engine, gearbox, Zaw Zaw with the metal work, the gearing, the suspension, and Tuya with the body work. If without these guys, I would not be able to be doing what I'm doing today and build out so fantastic cars. So with that being said, I would probably catch you guys on the next one. I missed out so much from the car, but thank you so much for following us on all social medias. I have a link to everything else, and catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.